You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to me and Gray's Indie Comic Review of the Week. Is that a good title for it? We really don't have a title for this podcast, but I think that really flowed right there. Hey, what's up, Gray?
It's great to be here. That's a really good title, Jim. I like it. You just made that up, didn't you, off the cuff?
Jim and Gray's Indie Comic Book of the Week. That's what we'll do. Here we are for our indie book of the week. And when I say that, this doesn't mean that we think this is the best book that came out. This is basically, we said, hey, let's do that one. And we ended up coming up with Duck and Cover, the ComiXology Original book by Scott Snyder and Rafael Albuquerque. And you even said that you tried to look up some info on it before we did this, and you can't really find that much, right?
That's right. There was not much press for it. You were saying you saw, of course, there would be quite a bit on Scott Snyder's Twitter, but I don't follow him. So I looked for interviews and I found one from a week ago on CBR, the dreaded CBR.
Okay. Yeah, the dreaded CBR. And I ended up hearing about it the last second, just seeing something pop up in my feed. That was Scott Snyder saying, hey, everybody, check this out. It's me and Rafael Albuquerque doing, back in together, the American Vampire team doing this new book. Now, I'll tell you, this is what's weird, and this is why I think some of these ComiXology things kind of get lost in the shuffle here. I thought it was an announcement for something coming up way later. I didn't realize it was this week. This has a couple of reviews, and they're very positive. When we go into this, I liked it. I was intrigued by it, but I thought that this first issue seemed like it went a little too long, or I think what you told me before, it took a while to kind of get some traction. And then by the end, when you finally do, you're like, oh, right. And then it ends. But that happens a lot. But like I said, it's Duck and Cover number 1, written by Scott Snyder, art by Rafael Albuquerque. It's on the ComiXology Original deal. And here's the solicit. I don't know if I agree with it. A manga-influenced teen adventure set in the strange post-apocalyptic America, ... of 1955. From the team behind the seminal Vertigo series, American Vampire. Pretty cool cover, right? Yeah. You go into that, it looks pretty cool. Everything is set up in a way that you start back in the day, like it said, 1955 deal. And it even says in 1952, the Federal Defense Administration produced a short film with the purpose of instructing school children what to do in case of a nuclear attack. In it, a turtle named Bert teaches through a song that the safest action is to hide under your desk and lace your fingers behind your head. The film was called Duck and Cover. So that's the setup. You kind of get a little bit of a foreshadowing of what's going to happen to old Bert here, or at least a, facsimile of him on the credits page. But when you jump into it, there is a lot of narration, a lot of text, and you're going to get a lot of characters thrown at you in this. Your main character, Delmont Reeves, he's nice enough. He's a black kid back in 1955, and that kind of comes into play, but doesn't. It's weird. You get that weird play where there is a racial overtone to the whole book, but Scott Snyder doesn't really jump into it. And I don't know if we're going to get more into that or not, but you end up with these 3 friends, one being a Japanese American as well, that I didn't actually even realize until a little later. But this kid likes to make movies. That's the big play. He likes to make movies, and his dad ended up saving up a whole month's worth of money to get this video camera for him to make movies. That
amazed me, Jim. Think about, the kind of salary he's on, because what is he? I think he's a school janitor, which, no disrespect to janitors, but he can't be making that much money. But he bought his son, was it a Modachrome video camera? Unbelievable.
Yep, yeah. And that's pretty cool. And again, at the beginning, where I was going through this, it feels a lot Stand By Me-esque.
Very much so.
You get a lot of those. I wouldn't say it's full Goonies, but I've even seen, I forget the one movie, where I think it's like Son of Rambo, where the kid starts making movies.
Yes, that's a cracker. That's a good movie.
Yeah, I love that. Not many people have seen that movie, but you get this feel of a lot of different movies. I saw some people saying it reminded them of American Graffiti, but that's only in like one segment, because you'll even get a Fast and the Furious from 1955. But a lot of these things are kind of mashed together in a way that you don't flesh him out enough, I think, in this first issue. I would have rather have just sat with these three main kids that we end up having here. One, Junior Jackson. The other one is Ollie, this kid who loves science fiction and listens to this radio show about conspiracy theories. And then our main guy, not Junior, Dell in the deal. And I thought that was pretty good, the way that you have those kids, but then you kind of get other things involved. But what did you think?
What you were saying before, you're right. It starts off and they're kind of throwing in too much. There's almost too much going on. Now, I know you've got to set things up, but as you were saying, Jim, they should have spent more time with the three characters, at that moment in time and build them up, build up their lives a little bit. But we just fly around, don't we? We go from just his hobbies making movies, his friends help him out, to he gets attacked by a Doberman. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it looks vicious. And
it does.
That's where you kind of get this little racial overtone. And even when you're going, you have Dell, and at one point, Junior, this one kid who looks like, a football player, just a regular guy, he kind of gets separated from the group. And this happens when you're growing up. And some friends that you have, they go off and do their other thing. But the main deal, Ollie and Dell, there's, like I said, that racial deal. And at one point, they start yelling at Ollie because he gets bullied by this one guy. And they say his dad went off to war and never came back. But you never get that full impact of it. And a lot of it seemed like what Scott Snyder, to me, was doing was going to make this out of time kind of deal, like this weird play, because I couldn't have told you at one point, really, does this feel like 1955? And yeah, it did, but it kind of didn't. But when you end up having this Dell, the main character, get bitten by the dog, he loses an eye. And I thought, okay, well, this is going to be crazy. Now, would he not be able to, is that his good eye? I'm telling you, things going through. Could he not make movies now? But that really doesn't affect that. It really is there for this weird play to have the guy who owned the dog, the junkyard guy, and it's a junkyard dog, come in and they make Dell apologize for the dog attacking him. It's a pretty big scene.
That was crazy, that scene.
It kind of does get you angry, at what's going on and whatnot. But then we have a time jump, and it's 6 years later, and Dell's working at this, drive-through.
Yeah.
And that's cool. He's chasing his dreams a bit like that, but he's leaving for Hollywood. He's about to leave. All these things going down. And I thought that things just kind of got, again, mashed together until finally when the big thing happens at the end, then you're like, oh, crap, this is pretty cool. But up until now, I was reading it, and I can't tell you that I was that into it at first. It was taking me a while to get into it. You're setting up a lot of kids who don't like each other. And that kind of threw me off a bit. Plus, I have a bit of a problem with a timing of some of these things. But again, I'll give it to you because we end up getting introduced to the NO gang. I don't know why. It's like this whole Fast and Furious, right?
Does that stand for something? I'm never quite sure. The NO.
They say at one point it's nitrous oxide.
Oh, that's it. Nice one. So you got your Fast and Furious.
Yeah, the Fast and Furious just seems like it's out of place here. It doesn't feel right. And I think that Scott Snyder tries to play this deal because Jack, the leader of the gang, this gang, it's a girl, so that kind of pushes things around a little differently. But still, I don't know. I don't know that I needed them. No. Then you get this bully that Junior ended up going because he's a football player now, and he ends up hanging out with
hanging out with him, yeah.
With this guy, this pug guy, who then we go through this crap. I'm telling you, it weirds me out. They say he got shot when he was a kid, and the bullet went in his neck, but they can never take the bullet out because it's too close to his jugular vein, but that didn't allow him to get in the war that he wanted to be. It's all weird stuff going on, and some of the explanations go a little too long. But before we kind of go to the big play, then the thing that got me is they say that it's 2 days before the 4th of July, where they then say is the big football game for the school. That makes no damn sense. Kids, first off, aren't going to school usually in the 4th of July. Football is a fall and winter sport, not 4th of July. Makes no sense. And then, since it says, really, that it's like July 1st, 2nd, right? That when you get this gang, the one guy says to Jack, because this girl wants to rev the engines and ruin the drive-through movie. And he says, we shouldn't do this. We've ruined every Saturday night showing this summer. Summer just started 2 weeks ago, dude. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. There's wacky stuff in there. And this is the sort of minuscule things that drive me nuts. But still.
Wow, you really noticed those, didn't you? Like, I missed that kind of detail.
And before the movie starts, you get this duck and cover. But you get a big fight. And now it's like the outsiders. Now they're just beating the crap out of each other. But you go from there and tell us, because while this is going on, you end up finally at this point, more than halfway through, getting to the real thing that would be exciting about this book, right?
Yeah. After the fight, you talk about this, we switch to, they basically get put in detention, don't they? Day detention at school, and while they're there, just kind of like getting on, they're taking the mickey out of each other. They, what do you call it, Jim? The speakers, that's it, the raid sirens start playing. We get this air raid and say, oh, it's just another drill, blah, blah, blah. But then we get this voice, and the voice is crying, saying, this is not a drill. It's really happening. Oh my God. Duck and cover, everyone. And I couldn't take it seriously. I don't know about you.
I know. It's kind of funny. And you even have where Ollie looks out the window and sees the bombs dropping. I mean, this is real, and that's crazy. I mean, me and you are a little older than a lot of people who probably listen to this, but me and you would know that in the 80s, you had that scare as well.
That was a big scare. Yeah, in the UK too, yeah.
Yeah, really, the whole deal. And we even had movies and stuff that we had to watch in school. Not like a duck and cover, but like dramatizations of what would happen. There's a big one called The Day After that was really put out there. It seemed like put out there to try to scare.
There was one in the UK, Jim, called Threads. It was terrifying as a kid. Absolutely terrifying.
I was terrified of what would happen. And then even in the 80s, then you had like a Red Dawn.
Yeah.
They did that crappy remake, but the original deal, and that feels like what happens here, but with the sci-fi deal, because the bombs drop and you keep going, because you end up where legitimately they get bombed.
They get bombed. And they get under the desk, don't they? It's like, this is what the children are taught in Japan, by the way, as an earthquake drill. If you get the earthquake warning, get under your desk just in case. But I just could not take it seriously, Jim. The country, or, the city gets bombed to heck, and they're okay.
Yeah. And the weird play is, and they say it at one point, like, I guess because it looks like the Russians fly over, and then they're like, well, I guess they didn't realize that we had the duck and cover, because it seems like anybody who did that lived. And they just lived by, going under the desk.
Desks. I can't believe it. The Reds, they did it.
Yeah, that would never work, but it did. And then, they're trying to now things really go forward quick.
Do you think Scott Snyder's having a bit of a joke with this, by the way? Do you think he's just, being ironic with the whole, look, we know duck and cover wouldn't work, but okay, what if it did? That kind of idea.
And it's that crazy deal. And I wonder, it'd be weird if they end up explaining like, well, it worked because little did they know the government had changed the
Oh, yeah, something like that.
It shouldn't have worked. I mean, like you're saying, when the school is blown up, it's gone. They're just there. But the desks are still there, and they're under the desks. It's crazy, but
the tortoise gets blown up to heck as well, doesn't it? The poor tortoise. That was funny. Well, not really funny, but
because it couldn't get under the desk. It taught us with the song, and so you end up, and now it's like really Red Dawn. I mean, you end up having jocks, bullies. For some reason, the Nitrous Gang, they didn't seem, and even when you end up having Dell show up and say, hey, I'm heading out or whatnot, they're like, you shouldn't be here. You're just here to cause trouble because you're not in school anymore. But yet all these other kids, it just felt weird. But you have a crazy group, including, Ollie, this Japanese American, and his bully, who doesn't last very long. But he does die a hero, I would say, right? That was a shocking
scene to me, Jim. I don't know about you. I didn't see that coming. I didn't think they were going to actually kill him. Those should we say those weird machines.
And that's what happens. At first, there's planes flying over.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, my God, what are these planes? And they realize what they are. And even you have Ollie kind of say the wrong thing. And they're like, man, you don't know anything. Those are MiGs. And he says, sorry, I only speak science fiction war machines. boom, it's War of the Worlds. Like, I mean, there is no time to even stop and prepare that all of a sudden alien-looking probes going around.
Process it, can you? Just like, what is happening? Where did they come from? They're coming out of the ground, it seems, or out of the wreckage.
And I like the idea, though, that when this happens, you're like, all right, like what the, like you are getting a lot thrown at you at this point, but it is interesting.
I love the art, by the way, Jim. I love the art by Rafael Albuquerque, the way he's drawn these like little weird Martian, well, they're not Martian, but these war machines are awesome.
Yep. And it's funny, too, because at one point you have them drop more of these drones.
Yeah.
And they land with the kaboom. And then you have this red page of one just coming, to this, pretty much octopus arms come out. And that's kind of a Rafael Albuquerque thing, but I've seen Scott Snyder do that a lot as well with that red panel, which is pretty cool. But now the kids are like, God damn it, we got to run. Like, holy shit, they start running. And I like to, the sound, it's like, report to camp, childs, now. I'm like, childs.
It's like bad English, Russian English, Jim.
And it says, it has a Russian accent, all that, but these things mean business, and they realize we can't go to these camps. We can't go. And I like the idea that Ollie, this kid who listens to conspiracies, at one point he was talking about squids, going up on shore and things. He listens to this one radio conspiracy theory guy.
Popsicle, what a great name. The Popsicle Show.
he seems to be the one that might be the best suited at this point, because this is science fiction, and he and everybody else says we got to go. And this pug, this bully, he's like, I'm not going to take it. I'm getting these Ruskies. And he's like, gung-ho American deal. We're the effing United States. I'm going to get you commie pieces of crap.
America F, yeah.
That's what he's yelling.
Straight away.
You're like, okay, well, I get it. Now you're going to get these kids, and they're on the run, a Red Dawn situation, but they're going to, learn that they actually do like each other. And this bully might end up liking oh no, he runs and gets beheaded. He gets beheaded by one of these machines. Yeah, I'm like, what the hell just happened? And so by this point, though, I was really into it.
Yeah, me too at this point, yeah.
The beginning, I was like, okay, I kind of like these characters a little, but there's too much going on, whatever. And then all hell breaks loose, and now I'm like, okay, I like this. I like what's going on. And they all start running from this big thing that just beheaded Pug, this big drone, and it really is War of the Worlds. And they start running to wherever, and they say, we're to World War III, we're trying to get out. And then you end to get even more crazy, and you say, what happens at the end?
It's a cracking final page. We see like the ruins of the bombed school or the bombed town, and we get this text box saying far worse was coming, and it looks like a mutant dog from Resident Evil, Biohazard, the games. Look at it, Jim. What is it? A zombie dog?
I think it's the Doberman that ate the eye of Dell, and now it's nuclear infused.
It looks huge. Am I imagining the size of it? Yeah,
I think it's the size of a building.
Perspective or what? It's amazing.
Like, holy crap. Like, there are trucks and stuff around it, and it's way bigger than that.
It's big. It's huge. Next issue, horror.
Holy crap. Like, you have a Russian invasion that seems very much more sci-fi than I would think in 1955. You have a mutated dog that's the size of a house that I think it's that Doberman that already bit.
Yeah, it has to be, doesn't it?
And I'm wondering if maybe at some point this dog teams up with them, like we're made to think it's going to be this big horror.
That would be a cool play. They do that and not what you expect,
like a crazy deal, like it recognizes Dell, and maybe I don't know. Who knows? It looks like it's
going to come for his other eye, Jim. I want your other eye.
You don't need that.
Got a taste.
Oh God! But what did you think of this?
Yeah, like I'm the same as you. It was a bit of a slow start. I wasn't sure what the genre was. It was a bit like Stand By Me, and then I've got to say, though, I did enjoy this unexpected, like, sci-fi theme to the Russian invasion. That really got me, and I'm kind of in now. I didn't want it to end. I said to you, like, oh my God, is that the end? What a cliffhanger. I wanted to keep reading. So, you're talking scores. It's hard to say for a first issue, because it's all over the place. I'm going to give it a 7.5, but I do really like the art. Maybe it deserves a bit more for the art. What do you think?
I'm a 7.5 as well. I actually, when we first started, I was a 7. And then while we were talking, I like it more. And I'm telling you, at the point where you get this, like, almost like an old time melodrama movie poster or even like a paperback book type deal right in the middle. Then after that, it really picks up. Before
really
that, I might have been a 6 because there was too much going on. The characters, I didn't, not that I didn't like the characters, but some of them you kind of brush by. They're there as tropes and whatnot. But then afterwards, once all hell breaks loose and you have that invasion, then things actually like, okay, I could continue reading this. If it ended at that one point, I probably wouldn't continue. I'd be like, this just seems like a deal. But you throw in crazy Russian attack with drones and things like that, and then a mutated dog as big as a house, I'm in. This, seems like it's its own thing, which I think is cool, and I'll keep going with it. It's one of those things, when you say Scott Snyder, it almost feels like people either love him or hate him.
I'll tell you what, Jim, I'm glad you pointed this out because, as I was saying, I didn't even know this was coming out. I wouldn't have known about it if you hadn't let me know, so I hope maybe we can introduce it to, a few people listening out there.
Glad that we did it. Thanks for joining me once again, Gray. And,
welcome.
So we'll be back next week. We'll pick a book, and if anybody has any suggestions, let us know, and we'll do that as well. So thanks, everybody. Thanks, Gray, and we'll talk to everybody later.
Matane.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.